Hey everybody, welcome to the GMG review. Today I'm reviewing Pulp! That's an exclamation point, so I felt like I had to yell it. Skirmish Adventure Wargaming from Osprey Games. This is a Blue Book series book, which means it's in the like 20, 25 buck, I think, thing. 27 Canadian, 20 US, $12.99 Great Britain pounds, and is a rules light, miniatures agnostic war game in the Pulp universe. If you don't know what Pulp is basically anything referring back to serialized novels, magazines, comic books from the early 20th century that focused on fantastic and thrilling tales. It's sort of like not believable fiction, but with a heroic bent, usually featuring like a cool protagonist that everyone would want to grow up to be. Amelia Earhart style, Indiana Jones sort of characters who are larger than life and have incredible adventures. And the thing that makes it a pulp tale usually is that they go from the regular world to a world you could not believe. One of the best examples of modern pulp storytelling is actually Tomb Raider, where you have an archaeologist who becomes like a super gunfighter and encounters magic and crazy cults and stuff on faraway islands in the South Pacific. So what these rules are good for is almost literally anything where you want to take a small group of miniature heroes and fight another small group of miniature heroes. You could use this for almost any genre. You just as well be able to use the rules in this book to play a Fallout game as to play a superhero game. I might even use this to use some of my Batman Monolith miniatures, which I have not unpacked out of their giant crate since that game came out, to play a game, because you could do Batman and some of his sidekicks versus the Joker and a bunch of thugs just as easily as you could do like a 1920s like Indiana Jones style thing. So don't let the cover fool you here. Pulp is a great sort of genre, and these rules very comfortably will cover anything like that. So introduction, I will go through the core mechanics a little bit. I'm not going to focus too much on the rules of the game, but more what's available and what you can do with it. And you can see right here, you got laser pistols versus bears in the, I don't know, Terror Arctic expansion. The art for this is fantastic, and also it uses some great Canadian miniatures I'm very fond of from a company called Pulp Miniatures out on the west coast of Canada, which you should check out because he's a great independent maker of toy soldiers. So what you need, some 6-sided dice, some 28mm miniatures, some 2D and 3D terrain, about a 3x3 table, rulers, tokens, and a rulebook. So Pulp's a game designed to be played in a couple hours between two teams. And my favorite thing is they give you pre-constructed warbands right away. What do you need? You need 1 or 2 kind of heroes or villains, 1 to 2 elite or veteran units, and 2 3-model seasoned units. So you have everything from like a individual hero as a unit to groups of models that all activate together that are called, I think they're just called, they're in and out of touch basically. They're like multi-model units, but you don't really need to activate them as individual models. So right away, you can see the stat lines. So a superhuman would be a single model. He activates on a 2+, and that doesn't mean you don't activate when you go to the activation phase. It's if you roll a 2+, you get to have a normal activation. If you don't, you get to have a sort of like a restricted activation. A skill of 2, so a 2+ on a d6, he does everything. Special points, he gets to spend 4 special points on purchasing upgrades. Does he get suppressed? Yep, and he can take 2 wounds before he dies. Most models can take 1 wound, but even if you just get hit and fail a defense roll, you will have a series of events that happen before you get removed. So it's not like a 2-wound model is you know, you take 1 hit, you take 2 hits, you die. Even a 1-wound model can stay on the table a little bit longer than that. And they go all the way down to like an extra. An extra is supposed to be the person in the movie that basically is like the walk-on, right? So you go superhuman through down to extra, and there's everything in between: a hero, a villain, an elite, a veteran, a seasoned model, and green models. An elite model would be 1 to 2 models in a unit. Veteran would be 2 to 3, seasoned 2 to 3, and then greens 3 to 4, and then 1 to 4 extras. Their activation rolls go all the way down to 3+. Their skills could be on a 6+, do anything for an extra. Specials, you get 0 for most green and extras, but then you get up to 4 for a superhero, 3 for an elite. And when you make a warband, you basically take a combination of those that add up. If you think of them as slots, you get a combination of those slots that's in balance with your opponent. All right, so turn sequence, basic core mechanics. Initiative roll-off, so d6, whoever rolls higher has the initiative. I like this as interesting, continuing melee. If you start the turn in melee, you fight a melee and then withdraw before anything else happens. Then you activate, and then you go to your end of turn where you remove your reaction fire tokens, defensive stance tokens, and spend tokens from the play area, and all units are now eligible to be activated again. So you reset the board, basically. So creating a warband, a typical scenario of Pulp lasts about an hour, and what he gives you is quick play rules. So if you're just going to play for the first time, grab some models. Grab 1 to 2 single models that are heroes or villains, 1 or 2 elite and or veteran units, and 2 to 3 models of seasoned units. So you want probably, as long as it's the same on both sides, right? You want like a hero, maybe 2 elite models, and then 2 units of 3 seasoned models. So, you know, you could have, if you want to do Big Trouble in Little Chinatown, you could have Jack, you have his buddy, and then you could have like a couple units of the, or you could have Jack and Egg even, and his buddy, and then you could have like 2 units of like the local Kung Fu guys, the 3 Kung Fu guys that are like his friends, the gang. The good guy gang, I can't remember the name of the good guy. And then you have David Lopan, you have the Thunders, and then you have some evil, you know, like local ninjas or whatever. Lopan's minions. And that could be your force. And I just made a Big Trouble in Little China miniature game using these rules if I wanted to. But like vice versa, you could also do, I don't know, you could do like Brotherhood of Steel guy in power armor, you could do one of his lieutenants, you could do a ranger, and then you could have like some settlers with them versus a super mutant boss. You know, like you could use whatever you want because it's not so tied to a genre or a theme. All right, activation. So the big thing with activation is you roll a die, and you're going to roll your activations, your skill, like your activation number. So like a big hero beyond a 2+, down to a 3+. But there are penalties and bonuses. And if you're out of touch, which means you're not within 3 of another model from your same unit, if you're a multi-model unit, there's associated penalties as well, and you have to roll separately for the out of touch model. Out of touch models test for activation right after the in touch group of models and before resolving any actions. They do so with a separate roll for each out of touch model and apply a -1 to their roll because they're not in touch with their friends, they can't talk to them. It's possible for a unit containing in touch and out of touch models. Some models will receive a full activation, some receive a partial one. So you do get bonuses for your activation roll. So if there's no enemies in sight, it's a +1, so you can't fail then. A -1 if there's suppressed models in a group, an in-touch group of more than 1 model. -1 for each out-of-touch model, and then -2 for suppressed model, out-of-touch model. So if you have like failed a defense roll and you're out of touch, you'd be -2 to your activation roll. If you get a full activation, you can do any of these actions, and those could be walk up to 4 inches and still shoot, run up to 8 inches and not shoot, reaction fire, move 2 inches, but then you can react to someone moving in line of sight of you. Defensive stance, same thing, but then you can fight back when you get fought in melee. And you can't do a range attack action, but you basically get a defensive stance token. Aimed fire, which is you don't move at all, but you get a +1 to your range shots, and then charge into melee, move to 6, and then fight a melee immediately. And then pass, which is do nothing. So if you get a partial activation, if you fail your activation roll, then the only actions you can do are reaction fire, defensive stance, or pass, right? So you can kind of creep around a little bit still, but you can't do any like major actions. Everything's pretty much as you'd imagine. Movement, you'd measure from the closest edge of the model to the furthest point you can move to. Line of sight and range, your weapons will have like a range, and you can pick a target as like you can see a model from one to the other. And when you resolve your attacks, every weapon has like an impact point, and you're gonna roll your skill a number of times equal to the impact that you have. So in the pre-constructed one, everyone's got a pistol. So the pistols all have an 8-inch range and 2 impact points. They roll 2d6 targeting something within 8 inches. And for each roll that is higher than the skill value, equal or higher, with modifiers for like cover and stuff like that, the opponent makes a defense roll. Same thing as in melee, you roll your skill equal to your weapon that you're carrying, if you have one, and then you make hits and saves. And your hits and saves based on who you are. And it could be everything from like the armor you're wearing to just like how good you are at Kung Fu. You know what I mean? If you have a high like agility and stuff, you're just getting out of the way. And you can see here your weapons and equipment will basically dictate that. So like the impact of like a medium weapon like a sword is 2. So if you got a pistol and like a big machete or like a baseball bat or something like that, you roll 2 dice to shoot, you roll 2 dice to do melee. Now your defense rolls, if you are like an extra green, you're always saving on a 6. If you're better than that, generally you're saving on a 5, but as soon as you start to wear armor, it could be on a 4 or 3 as well, but you slow down too. And it's all dictated by your model. There isn't really a balancing factor to that. It's more what do you look like and what makes sense for the course of the game. And they give you tons of examples of why you might have that defense roll. It could be everything from agility to you're wearing like really heavy armor. So like heavy armor, like head to toe armor, or a superpowered like agility could have a 3+ defense. But if you're wearing heavy armor, you move at a quarter your regular movement. You could say that like power armor though wouldn't have you do that because it's extraordinary. Then continuing melee phase, players resolve all melees still ongoing from the previous turn. With your models in contact, the initiative player decides the order of how you do them. And when you fail your saves, you go from different sequences. So first, if you were unsuppressed and you fail a save from shooting, you become suppressed. In melee, you skip this step because obviously you're not getting shot at, you're just being stabbed. If you fail a save and you're already suppressed or you're in melee, you take a wound. A wound just gives you -1 to your skill rolls and tests later on. And if you're already wounded at your maximum wound, so like when heroes have 2 wounds, they have to take 2 before this happens, and you get wounded again, you get KO'd. You go right to KO'd, and then your excess hits just get lost. And that's it. Some rules for interacting with objects. Vehicles are usually not accounted for, but you could make up some rules for them, basically it says. Or like scenarios might give you some. You get your weapon stuff. And there's a ton of stuff in here. So like the first page is like kind of generic stuff. Like, yeah, this could be in the 1920s. Like I could see Tomb Raider having a handgun or a shotgun or a heavy machine gun or an assault rifle or a flamethrower or a grenade launcher. But then you flip the page and it's like death ray gun, laser gun, cold ray, sleeping gas, hypno gun, glue gun, tractor beam gun. And that protective equipment could go even to like power armor, shields, stuff like that too. So depending on where you want to set your game, you could have all kinds of weapons. And then special benefits are things that you will add typically to your heroes and your veterans in order to give them like, or your villains, in order to give them superpowers. And you typically get, based on their level, a number of special benefits. So like it said earlier, a superhuman could have 4, a hero usually has 3. And you pick 3 and you combine them. So things like sniper training, or performing a ranged attack, increase the range by 25%. Or acrobatic dodge, as soon as an enemy moves into contact with you, and before melee is resolved, move your model away 1 to 3 inches. And then you get this cool kind of like role-playing thing where you can buy a background, a life experience. Now, if you choose to do that, you kind of get your benefits pre-programmed, but you might get additional effects as well on top of it. So by choosing like a thematic life experience, like my parents were in the circus, you automatically get acrobatic dodge and acrobatic pursuit, but you get an extra effect, which is twice per game. Gain +1 to a save roll in melee. Make your decision to use the bonus before rolling the dice, and consider the advantage spent regardless of the result. So I taught Douglas Fairbanks all he knows. Swing for the chandelier, acrobatic pursuit. I was a vigilante in Chicago, terrifying laughter, second chance. Just stuff like that. I've survived by hiding for 4 days under a pile of corpses at Verdun. Survival instinct, tough skin. Just, these basically give you like a kind of role-playing theme on top of what you're actually doing. You can have consuming obsessions or traumas and phobias, which have effects in the game if you want to add that. And then some character progression for playing when you win a scenario in a campaign. And you can see here, even like suggesting you could use this for horror games, like a Dr. Frankenstein thing. Rules for animals and a list of like animals, because obviously in Pulp Tales, very often when you see like the cover of like old Pulp Tales magazines, it's like a guy punching a bunch of like beavers, attacking him and some woman in a river, like, or you know, battling a boa constrictor. So you had to have like pterodactyl rules, hippos, dogs and wolves, a T-Rex, velociraptors. You could very much do a Jurassic Park game out of this too if you want to. Advanced terrain rules for like swinging around. Making scenarios on a 3x3, and then some basic scenarios. We got our little rejects from Hergé's Tintin over here. Tintin. And I like that Kev Dallimore is actually in this, but that's Ross the Kev Dallimore cowboy. The guy who paints all these miniatures, that's one of his miniatures. That's him, basically. Yeah, so these are like templates for doing like a story. So like occupy something, breakthrough, zigzag to victory, defend the middle. Chrome campaigns, and campaigns are some basic like if you want to link your games, what could you do? And then some example scenarios as well. And that's it. And some other games you could buy. Pulp, $20. You get basically a rule set for everything from post-apocalyptic to science fiction to whatever. If you got heroes and villains and you want to throw down a game, this looks like a really fun, quick $20 3x3 rule set. I'm gonna definitely give it a try. I'm gonna definitely like genre bend it though. I don't know if I'm gonna do superheroes and do them like Batman by Gaslight or something maybe. I could do Fallout. I could do like a post-apocalyptic thing. Just I want to show what these can do. So when I do the Let's Play for it, I'll definitely pick a genre. So tell me down below what you think would be fun, different, and wacky genre besides the like classic Roaring 20s thing that you got here. that's like the typical Pulp. So I think it's going to be fine. I mean, you can't go wrong with the Osprey Wargames stuff for 20 bucks. Take a stab and you have a rule set for the weird miniature that you might want to buy. You know what I mean? Or like that 3D printing company that makes miniatures where you're like, I don't know what I'm going to use these for, but I like the models, I want to paint them. These kinds of rule sets, along with like Pulp Alley. There's a bunch of Pulp systems out there, but obviously this is the newest, different one. Yeah, give them a go. They're good to have in your arsenal if you're a miniature agnostic wargamer of, I don't know what rule set would fit these miniatures. Well, you'll probably find something in here. Big thanks for watching. We'll see you for more GMG reviews in the future. And big thanks for Osprey sending along the complimentary copy review. Tell them to mash. Hey there, I hope you enjoyed that video. There are tons of other games already recorded for you to watch. Click over to my channel page if you haven't already, and have a look through the dozens of playlists full of videos. I guarantee you'll discover a game you haven't seen played before. I put out new videos 7 days a week, and every day is themed to a different genre as I continue to explore the wider world of gaming. Of course, none of that's possible without you, the viewer, so click a like and subscribe if you'd like to stay on top of what's happening here daily. My 2 kids and I are massively grateful to be able to have the flexibility of this job so I can always maximize my time with them. If you want to support me continue to put out this content, it's only possible because of my amazing backers on Patreon who support the studio, equipment, and model cost, as well as being how I make the bulk of my living. You can also help out by buying a t-shirt through Spreadshirt, a measuring gauge or widget from Death Ray Designs, or buying one of my games and supplements like Last Days, Gamma Wolves, and Blaster. As a way of showing my appreciation, patrons get early access to new games and supplements that I write throughout the course of the year. Huge thanks for watching, it really does help out, and happy gaming.